Welcome to the 401k Audit CPA Success Show, where we're 100% focused on helping companies across the United States prepare for their 401k audit. If you have 100 eligible participants in your 401k plan, then this podcast is for you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kim Moore with Summit CPA Group, and we are doing a podcast this month on our 401k Audit CPA Success Show related to a tool that we use here at Summit CPA Group. We thought you would be interested in hearing about it, and we have a guest speaker today, Kelly Mann from AuditMiner, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tool and what it can do for you. And we thought, you know, depending on if you're a plan sponsor or even if you're an auditor, this probably could be helpful to just about everybody. So welcome, Kelly. We're glad to have you.
Thank
we
you.
We also have Karen Hill, the audit
Thanks.
manager here at Summit CPA Group. So we're going to kind of go back and forth and talk a little bit about AuditMiner. But Kelly, why don't we just start off? Can you tell us a little bit about AuditMiner? What is it and how does it work?
Yeah. AuditMiner is a tool that it's sold to CPA firms, really, that do employee benefit plan audits. And the theory behind it is that it's streamlining the audit package for the auditor. And so, you know, it could be Fidelity, John Hancock, Voya, TIAA-CREF, all of these financial institutions hold plan assets. But the auditor almost has to know 20 different languages in order to read the audit report for 20 different service providers. And so what we do is we take those, we standardize them, and so what the auditor gets out of AuditMiner is an audit package that looks exactly the same no matter which financial institution the audit package came from. And then we take it one step further and we select samples for testing, and we also develop audit testing work papers with procedures for them to consider performing, and so they can just kind of take it and run instead of having doing all the data manipulation and massaging.
Right. How long has AuditMiner been around?
Well, AuditMiner was founded, this is a really funny date for anyone that's a CPA. AuditMiner was founded on October 14th. October 14th, 2019. That's when the company was founded. Through a lot of life that happened, including me getting a stage 3 breast cancer diagnosis, it took us a while to actually get the product out there because, as you can imagine, life was a little crazy having cancer during a pandemic with 3 little kids, right? So it took a while to get the product out there. The actual AuditMiner product was released in the wild in April of 2021. So we're about 9 months old product-wise.
And
right
I know that you started with, I can't remember which vendor you started with. Empower. Yeah. So when we released the product in April, we were like, we standardize audit packages across all of the service providers. But we can only standardize Empower right now. So when we released, it really was a prototype, kind of like getting it out there in the market, seeing if this was something that was going to be valuable to CPAs. I thought it was going to be. I'm a CPA myself, but you never really know. Money talks, right? And so we released it with just Empower. And we got really good early adoption rates in April and May. And they were all like, we want more service providers on board. And so after Empower, we brought on Fidelity. And then we had great success with Fidelity. And so then we brought on Voya and Ascensus and TIAA-CREF. And so over the last 9 months, we have brought on 13 service providers onto the platform. And we continue to bring on new ones. I mean, there's always in the pipeline getting new service providers. So if someone had an idea for a service provider they'd like you to work on, would you take that on?
Yeah, so that's actually how we figure out what service provider to do next. We listen to our customers. Like, AuditMiner is so customer-led. We don't develop a feature unless it's been requested by a customer, and we get the customer feedback the whole time. And so we have a number of customers that say, oh, we have 5 CUNA Mutual 403B plans coming up. Is that on your platform? And if not, is it something you could put together? And we say, sure, we can put it together. And so we kind of reach out to some customers, see what the interest is in the CUNA Mutual, per se. And then we work with our customer to develop it and bring it on board. And it usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks to bring on a service.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. That's pretty quick.
No.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of work going on in the back end.
Right,
It doesn't magically appear, right?
But we kind of have the process down now. We've done so many to make it pretty quick. So the new service providers that come on board are a direct result of
so
our
it's
customers
very
requesting
customer
them.
driven. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if I'm somebody I heard about this for the first time and I'm thinking, what would be the benefits to me, you think, of using AuditMiner?
Yeah, so we actually see benefits in two different structures. It depends. And I'm going to say small firm that only do a few and large firms that do 300 to 400, right? There's two kind of different buckets there. So if a CPA firm is doing, I would say 10 or less, they're really going to find the benefit from the standardization and then the fact that we put procedures in there for you to complete. And so you might not be an expert in the employee benefit plan world, but because the AuditMiner tools that you're getting already have procedures that should be performed on an audit, or at least considered to be performed, it kind of helps you out being comfortable that, okay, I'm doing the right thing. The firms that are on the higher end, so I would say like 50 or more plans. I mean, we have customers that process anywhere from one plan up to 500 plans. And so if you're on the higher end, you probably have your own templates that you're using, and the AuditMiner templates might not be advantageous for you. And so what they're actually getting is the data. So us standardizing and streamlining that data so they no longer have to teach their staff where to go on the website and what the reports look like for this service provider versus this service provider and where you find stuff in this report versus this report. And so AuditMiner is really standardizing all of that, and it takes out the time that is required to train the staff and then for the staff to kind of figure it out each time. And so they're really purchasing the data manipulation.
That makes sense. Can you tell us a little bit about which areas in an audit AuditMiner is going to help us with?
Yeah, so when I think about a benefit plan audit, I think about it in like 3 buckets. So we have the planning, right, and all of the audit programs. We have the record keeper, so the financial institution, let's say Empower. And then we have payroll, ADP, Paychecks, Paylocity, right? And so right now, AuditMiner is working in the financial service side, the financial institution. And so AuditMiner can help you with things like we do income allocation testing. We get that all populated for you. Distribution testing. It does loans. It does contribution timeliness, actually. And then just to help with the schedule of assets, it has all the assets that are listed and the dollar amounts and a concentration analysis. So it's really standardizing the financial service side today. In the future, though, we want to also get into the payroll side. And so kind of doing the same thing on the payroll side with getting the CPA, the census, and then being able to create eligibility testing and do contribution testing and contribution allocation testing and kind of matching up between the financial service institution and the payroll. Now, the planning and the audit packages, the wrap-up, all of that is being done by other industry technologies. So Caseware, Avenir, MindBridge, CCH, Advanced Flow, right? They're doing a really great job of getting the audit programs, the methodology, the file documentation structure. And so we want to be complementary to that. And, CPA.com has our on-point EBP. And so we want AuditMiner to be able to be used with all of those. And so it's kind of plug and play. It works with no matter where you're holding your audit documentation, you can use AuditMiner because
that makes a lot of sense to me because that's planning and some of the risk assessment and that can be very standardized to the individual audit firm, and so to try to have your company doing that would be tough, I think.
Yeah, and that's a really big project, and people are doing a good job of that already. So I would love it to where AuditMiner is ingrained in those, and when you run it through AuditMiner, it just pulls all of the AuditMiner data and automatically puts it into your audit file package already, so you don't even have to drag and drop it into Caseware or drag and drop it into Advanced Flow.
We're very supportive of that. That'd be great. We like that.
Yeah, I mean, the company's only 9 months old, so we still have to make those connections and, strategize with different partners. We're at the very, very cusp of that.
Wonderful.
But that's kind of where
you mentioned a little bit about the payroll part of that. How far along are you with that? I mean, just at the very beginning, or it's just in your head?
Yeah,
okay.
it's all in my head.
Great. Well,
Yeah, so we really started on the service provider, on the financial institution side. And now that we've kind of got our hands around that, we know that people want it. A lot of our customers are like, ooh, when can we get payroll? We would love payroll. And so now my job this year is going to be start reaching out to those payroll companies, establishing connections, figuring out how we can work with them to benefit both of us and the end user, which is going to be the CPA, and then also the 401k plan sponsor management.
Yeah.
We hope that all of these improvements by the firms using AuditMiner will be able to be cost savings passed along to the plan itself. We're probably not there right now, but in the future,
I could even see the plan
happening.
sponsor utilizing it to help double check on their end to make sure that everything's working the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Maybe even ahead of the audit, if you could get to that point, and then
Potentially.
you give the auditor your package of, here, I ran this through, and here's the problems, and I'm already fixing those. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, it really just depends, because if the auditor controls the software, they can place a little bit more reliance on those results than if it's the plan sponsor that's running the software through and providing it. And so it's really just where is the market heading, and listening to the market, and then pivoting or making adjustments to our business plan based on what we're seeing. And so it's not like that's definitely out of the picture.
Yeah,
but,
just see how it goes. And you might have two different offerings too. I mean, you might have, here's the one for the CPA firms for you to use it, and then here's one for a plan sponsor if they wanted to do it ahead of time.
Right.
And, and then maybe if they ran it ahead of time, the CPA firm give them a discount or something. Who knows? Who knows? How that would work. But,
Who knows? Yeah.
That's exactly
the world's
right.
your oyster,
I could see a ton of value
exactly.
on that side. So just a plug for Summit. If you want somebody to give you some ideas, we'd be happy to help you with that.
Oh, we listen. Yeah, we listen to you guys. We've had multiple meetings with you, and so we love this partnership. We definitely have some really, we call them AuditMiner champions, and you're definitely in that group. But a list of firms that love sharing their feedback, helping us with product development, and telling us what they want, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are, they have the problem to solve, and they get a real benefit by informing the way that we are producing our product.
Well, that leads me to time savings. I mean, you mentioned a little bit about standardization, and I know on our end, that's one of the big values that we see is that the more providers you have available, the more of our total bucket of audits that we do in a year. Because we're, just for listeners, in case you haven't listened to me or a podcast, Summit Audit Shop is a EBP specific audit firm. So we're kind of a niche provider. This is what we do, and this is our specialty. So, we would use this tool on every audit if we could, if it covered all of the providers. So, obviously the more providers, the more standardized all of those pieces you talked about would be on our end. And so that's a real value. But how about time savings? Are you hearing feedback from customers about saving time using the product?
Yeah, I would say today when we talk to new customer or prospects, I would say, we're finding that we have about 60% of their employee benefit plan practice integrated. And so 60% of the service providers that their plans use are on AuditMiner right now. So we're over that 50% now, which is great. And the most common feedback that we get is that it saves a CPA firm anywhere from 10 to 20 hours per audit. The larger the audit, the more time savings, obviously. If you have a plan with 13,000 participants, you're going to be saving a lot more time than if you have a plan with 125 participants. And then I would also add the sophistication of the CPA firm. So if your CPA firm already has templates, they have this process down because they do 200 a year, those might even be more on the 5 to 10 hours savings. But the majority of our customers, the feedback is 10 to 20, and that takes into consideration direct time and also the indirect time of training and putting things in pivot tables and into IDEA and all those different tools that you use to get it to
I think the training thing is a big factor, especially for firms that don't do a lot of these audits and probably have a lot of turnover at the staff level, where those are the folks going to be using the tool, and you don't even know what a distribution is. It's kind of hard to...
Yeah, exactly. And we find there are quite a few firms that they have one person that processes all their principal plans, and one person that processes all the John Hancock, and one person that processes all the Empower. And what happens when that Empower person leaves? There's nobody there that knows how to pick up the Empower piece. And so they really love this because they no longer have all of their Empower eggs in one basket, and that's no longer something that keeps them up at night, is if that person leaves.
I never thought of organizing a staff that way, but that's kind of a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like
it's a real
it works
value
for the firms
add
that do
to
that.
know where to go on the website to get things and which reports. Some of those systems, they'll give you 1,000 reports, and you've got to try and pick and choose, and if you've never used it before, you spend half your time trying to figure out, where's this piece of data?
Yeah. And how should I run it?
Yeah.
Which field should
and
I
that's
select?
another benefit of AuditMiner.
Exactly.
For those folks that have never, experienced it, the AuditMiner folks give you some very good instructions to go. I mean, it's literally step by step. Go into the system, go to this page, pull this report. We need you to run it this way, save it this way. I mean, they're very specific instructions. And then if you're able to do that, then, they can just pull it right in the tool. And literally, I know we've gotten our feedback back from the system. I mean, it's sometimes not even 5 minutes. It's, it's really
very, very quick.
Yeah. We promise a 1 business day turnaround. So once you give us your files out of Empower, we guarantee a 1-day business turnaround, and you'll get them the next day. And that's because we're humans, and we have to run it through the program. And we might be at a doctor's office or at our child's, volunteering at our child's Valentine's Day party in school. But if we're at the desk and we're working and it comes in, you might get it back in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's been real quick on,
or 5 minutes
on
if
our
it
side.
just happened to be free.
So that's been good.
Yeah, the nice thing is that it's very intuitive. So you don't have to download software. You don't have to learn software. It's really just you provide us reports that you download out of your financial service institution, and then we send you back the AuditMiner reports, and you just drop them into your case flow file or into your advanced flow file. So there really is no training or onboarding that is required for the software. And that's always going to be my goal. I know how hard it is to learn new software because CPAs are so busy. And so I always want to make it as intuitive as possible.
I have to learn more software. There's always something new, it seems
There's always something new. Yeah. And so how can we make AuditMiner very, very easy for the CPA?
Yeah.
Easy
well,
is
and
number
I mean,
one
that's
for
been
me.
our experience, is that it's been, really easy to use, and the instructions are really great. Do you guys do anything on your end to double check as it's running through the tool to make sure that you're giving us valid information?
Yeah. Yeah, so every plan that we run through goes through I'll say a QC check, if you will. So Empower was the one we released first, and we've processed the most Empower plans. And so there are only a couple items that we check in each plan, and if those 2 items match, we know the rest is good. And then for the newer ones, so CUNA Mutual was one that we just released this fall, we will check like maybe 5 to 6 different data points within a plan to make sure that all those are well. And then eventually we don't have any issues with CUNA Mutual, and we'll just go to just check the 2 data points again. And so the more comfortable we are with the program for a certain service provider, the less of a QC check we do, but they all go through some type of QC check.
Well, that's good to know, because we just want to get the data and use it. We don't want to have to go through that check process ourselves and make sure that it's good.
Yeah, I mean, like you still have to be able to tie it out to the certified statement and make sure it agrees to your trial balance, right? Like you still have to have your professional skepticism as a CPA, but we do the best on our end to make sure that it's all going to work out once you put it through the ringer on your side, and you don't have to worry about it.
So if I were to start using AuditMiner and I have trouble, how does that work? What's your customer support like?
Well, we're a relatively small team, so we're a team of 7 people right now, which is really big compared to where we were when we issued or released AuditMiner. We've really grown from like 3 to 7. But our customers correspond with processing@auditminer.com. And so if they ever have an issue, if they ever have a question, we just say, send it to processing@auditminer, and we'll make sure to get it taken care of. We don't have like a line that you call for support. We don't have any of that established yet. We are only 9 months old. But because we're a small team and we know the software inside and out right now, we're very readily available. And we pick up the phone and call you if we want more information or we want to get more feedback or We just want to make sure we understand what your needs are or where
You know,
your
Karen, you had a
questions are.
problem with one of yours running through there, and
User error.
yeah. So we
it was a Fidelity plan, and because I know Fidelity really well, when I went to pull the reports, it was defaulting to the wrong thing. It was defaulting to an Excel file instead of to the CVS file. And I wasn't picking up on it because I'm like, well, I know how to do that. I know how to run Fidelity reports. You know, it should be easy. And it kept defaulting. And it wasn't until I got on the phone with Kelly and she looked at what I was doing, and she's like, oh, no, it's going to Excel. I'm like, oh. I felt,
Yeah. And I think I sent you a
did.
t-shirt
I
because
should've
I was like, I
worn it.
feel
I
so
should've
bad
worn
that.
It's cold here
Yeah.
for a t-shirt.
So it's going to be the bane of my existence. You know, AuditMiner will consume certain files, and if we have the choice between a CSV and an Excel file to consume, we're going to pick that CSV because it's a CSV is more secure than an Excel file because you can't embed anything. There can't be room for anything to get into the CSV, and so it's just naturally more of a secure file, and so we would rather consume that. And so when there's a choice to export it to Excel or CSV, us auditors are like, oh, Excel, you know, Excel's our favorite thing in the world, and so we just gravitate toward that naturally. And so it's telling our customers, the software will throw a tantrum if you don't follow the instructions exactly, but that is why they are step-by-step detailed to make it as easy as possible.
Yes, we do. We
but
like
it's
Excel
always gonna
because
happen.
we like to be able to manipulate things. And
Yep. And that's why the AuditMiner outputs when we give you the product back is all in Excel. And you can insert tabs and delete rows and change font, and absolutely nothing is locked in the AuditMiner program once you get it back. So you can really take it, copy and paste, and make it your own.
I used it on an audit that I did last year, and there was a couple of steps that I needed to add. It was really easy, just insert a line and my couple of steps that I needed to add, so it agreed to the audit program, and that was it. You know, I had a couple. You know, they give you some tick marks. You can add tick marks easily. I really like the fact that the analytics are there on there as well. Besides the analytical work paper, but yeah, the analytics are on there.
Right.
And I think in my case, we decided that they wouldn't make selections, but just dump everything on the testing page, and I just eliminated the ones I didn't want. Because it was a pretty large plan, this one.
Yeah.
And it was very, very helpful. Also, I really like on the contribution, the timeliness one, where you have the page where you can put in all the dates for all the holidays. So it automatically takes out the weekends and holidays so that you don't, if you see you don't automatically see, oh, it was 5 days, when really what happened is, well, they submitted it on a Friday, and then they had the weekend, and the Monday was a holiday, and it was Tuesday, you know, so that it really wasn't as late as it maybe appeared.
Right.
So I think kind of that helps.
Yep. Yeah, and so my background I've been auditing 401k plans since 2008. And so the way we've structured it really takes that auditor mentality of what would make my job easier personally, and we try to incorporate that. So the next thing that we're working to adding to our product is a trial balance feature. And we hope to have that out around March, April timeframe. But every plan that you run through AuditMiner, you get some sort of trial balance feature to help you reconcile to the participant activity detail and the trust statement. So that's our next step right now to make it.
Are you
better.
doing something with SOC reports too?
Yes, this is becoming quickly our most popular product right now. We had, I think, 7 SOC report requests last week. And so it's really a service. Any SOC report that you get, so they come in the PDFs, right, for our service providers. And it could be a payroll, it could be a trust company, it could be a record keeper. It doesn't have to be on the AuditMiner platform, any SOC one. We will take it and we will produce an Excel file that's open so you can copy and paste, but it talks about the general information about the SOC one, the date, who did it, if that firm is known or not, if it's a type 1 or type 2. We address all of the carve-outs and if you should do more procedures based on the carve-out. And then we analyze all of the control objectives and put them in Excel and indicate if there are deviations to them and what those deviations are and how management addressed them. And then if it's a control objective that the typical CPA firm could use to reduce their testing, we put a control reliance approach on it.
And then for the complementary user entity controls, all of them are filled out. It indicates what control objective they pertain to. It has an example walkthrough procedure you could do for every single one of them. So you no longer have to use your brain to figure out, what can I do to address this walkthrough? It's in there for you. And then if it's a control reliance approach and that control objective is being used to reduce your audit testing, we go further and say this is how you could do a test of control on it. And then there's a conclusion tab that will tell you where you can reduce your testing in your audit. It doesn't tell you how you can reduce your testing. That's still up to your methodology. But we could say you could rely on this to reduce testing over contribution allocation, or there is a control objective 5.3 that addresses the allocation of income to participants, so you can reduce your testing over income allocation testing.
Wonderful.
At the participant level.
Yeah, this sounds.
And so that
sounds really
awesome.
good.
Yeah, so that product costs $250 per SOC 1 that we analyze for you. That turnaround is a little bit longer. It could take up to a week if we haven't analyzed that specific SOC report before. But I think we have like 10 of them now that we've analyzed. And so you say, hey, I would like the SOC report for the Empower Mass Mutual platform. And we email you back and say, great, here it is. And then we send you an invoice for $250.
Because the good thing about the SOC reports, if for anybody that does these EBP audits, they're the same. So if you're doing Voya, it's not like there's 25 different Voya SOC reports. It's one. So you're going to get this data once, and then you can use it, ongoing.
Yeah, and what we have, part of the reason we have AuditMiner is to improve the quality in this industry, right? Everyone's talking about deficient audits in the EBP realm. Well, what can we do with technology to increase the quality standard in this industry? And we find that in peer reviews, most firms get dinged on the SOC report because either they don't have it in the file, and if they do, they didn't read it. And if they did read it, maybe they didn't do walkthroughs on every single user control. And maybe they're using it to reduce their testing, but they didn't do test of controls over those user controls. And so using this tool makes sure that you hit those bare minimum requirements for the SOC report. So you put this in your file, you update anything that's kind of a template for a participant name or who you talk to for management, and you're going to meet the SOC 1 standards. And it's just kind of a quality control check.
That's a great idea. So let's stick with the SOC report, and then we'll go back to the regular AuditMiner. So $250 per SOC report I'm asking you to provide to me, analyze, whatever.
Yes.
So how do I, if I just got my ADP SOC report and I want you to take a look at it, what do I do?
Yeah, so today you email processing@auditminer.com, or really any way you can get a hold of us. So you can do hello@auditminer.com, you can do kman@auditminer.com, which is me, or you can just do processing@auditminer.com. All of it's on our website to reach us, but you just email us and say, I would like to get the ADP SOC 1, or you can give us a call and we'll get it worked out with you. So the fun thing about being a startup like we are is we get this great idea, we test it in the industry, and we're lucky enough that it just takes off. And now it's like, okay, what can we do internally to streamline this? So we are internally working on making like a shopping cart for the SOC 1. So you could go to our website, drill down to the year that you want to, like I need a 2021 SOC 1, and then you can see all of the service providers that we have an analysis for. So then you find Empower, and then you just add it to your shopping cart. And you could buy 7 of them at once, and then you'll get an email with a zip file of all your SOC 1s in there, and it will charge your credit card. So just make it easy like that. And then if it's a SOC 1 that's not in the shopping cart, we hope to have an option to say, I didn't see it, I would like to request a new one, and then you would upload the PDF to the website, and it would come to us, we would get it taken care of, and then get it back to you within a week. So that's where we're going internally to streamline this as quickly as we can, because it's just kind of taken off on us, which is wonderful. So we just ask our customers, it might seem a little messy at first, because it is. It's because we're new. It's because we're figuring it all out. But our number one goal is make it easy for you.
Yeah.
And
that's great. We're definitely going to be taking advantage of that. That was on my list to ask you, because they're great and they're very important and they serve a very important role, but they're a pain in the butt to do.
They
are definitely.
And then once you get the first one done, you're like, okay, great, and you can use it over and over again. But there are several times maybe we only use this SOC report twice.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you spend all this time.
And the other thing that some people think about, but a lot of them don't, is how much our staff
Yes.
hate to
Yeah.
do them. And so you give them a SOC report, and maybe it is going to be cheaper for you to do it internally at $250, but you also have to think about the quality of life. These people are copying and pasting, and that's not what they want to be doing. They're not using their brain. And so allowing AuditMiner to do all the monkey business and letting your auditors use their brain to start at the walkthroughs. instead
It's
of
not
the
a good
copying and
use
the
of
pasting.
a qualified auditor's time either. You know, we want to use them for the hard
Exactly.
things and the complicated
Yes.
technical things, not copy paste, like you said. That's
Yep, and that's what AuditMiner is doing. We're doing the copying and the pasting and keeping
yeah.
your staff
Well,
from
that's a
getting
good
carpal
thing
tunnel.
too. That's a definite benefit for all of us. So if I switch over to the regular AuditMiner, the part that's doing the distributions and the loans and that, so how does that work
Yes.
price-wise?
Pricing? Yeah, so effective January 1st this year, 2022, the base price is $500 per audit that you run through the platform. So you don't pay up front for a bulk of them. You don't have to purchase 10 at a time. There's not a subscription fee. If you run an audit through, we will then invoice you for that audit. So the base price is $500, but the more audits you run through, the cheaper they become. So after your first 10 audits, you start getting a 5% discount on your next 15. And then you get a 10% discount on your next 25. And so you keep running them through. And once you get to running 500 audits through, the rest of them you get at 25% off. So you kind of get economy. That's how we decided to do the economies of scale and internally make the process easier on us.
Right.
So it's all
It's pretty
formula-driven.
basic charging.
Now we get a lot. Yeah, and we get a lot of questions. Well, what about my 403B plan that has 3 different platforms? Or I have a plan that started with Empower and then they moved their money to another service provider at the end of the year. So we had a change in TPAs. You might not want to pay $1,500 to run it through for 3 different platforms, right? So we came up with the first platform or the first TPA per plan is the base price of $500 or wherever you are in the sliding scale at the time.
Okay.
The second plan is
That makes
half off.
sense. Yeah, that makes
Or
sense.
the second provider is half off. So it's kind of like for one plan, it's
Okay.
buy one, get one
That
half
makes-
off. Or
Right.
get 2 half off. If you have 3, you pay $500 for one and then
That
$250
totally
for the other
makes
2.
sense.
Yeah. We really want our customers to have a return
Yeah.
on their investment. As a CPA, technology gets so expensive. And it's like, does it really have to be that expensive? I'm quickly finding out that, yeah, technology is expensive to build. But if you can't get a return on your investment, it's not worth it. For me
And
to
it
build
wouldn't be a long-term strategy for your firm either if it's too expensive.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
we're just about running out of time. Kelly, is there we want to make sure you give out your information so people can get a hold of you, but is there anything else that you wanted to share about the tool or the process?
Just that, we're constantly in the background here thinking about how we can make it better and what we're going to do next. The tool we have out right now really is our prototype. It was the first release, and so I feel like we're just at the tip of the iceberg. And so coming in future years, you're just going to see it really start expanding. And so don't think that what we're doing now is the end-all be-all.
Okay.
It's just the beginning.
Yeah, it is.
Which is really exciting.
Definitely is.
And so,
for us.
Yeah.
as far as, getting a hold of us, you can always go to auditminer.com. You can fill out the contact me information form there. You can book a demo directly through auditminer.com. I am on LinkedIn, Kelly Mann, KELLYMANN. I post a lot about our journey on LinkedIn, so it's kind of a behind the scenes. I'm very transparent and open about what I am posting and the progress that we're making. And then you can always email me, kman@auditminer.com also. And then if you wanted to see what record keepers that we have integrated into our platform, you can always go to auditminer.com/instructions.
Okay.
And that lists out all of the record keepers on our platform, and you can see the directions exactly how to get the reports that you need in order to use
Good thing for
AuditMiner
people to
from
check out too. If they're not quite sure, then they can look at the instructions and see, do I understand this? Is this kind of the stuff that I know I have access to? And just so everybody on the call knows, it's Audit, AUDIT, Miner, MINER, because I'm always spelling it wrong when I'm trying to get a hold of Kelly. I don't know what I'm doing, but I always spell the minor part, I always spell wrong. So it's
Yeah, so we're calling ourselves
and there you
A-miners.
go. So yeah, it's Audit, A-U-D-I-T, Miner, M-I-N-E-R. So there you
Yep,
go.
like we're
That
mining
makes
for
perfect
data.
sense. I think if you think about that, it'll make it a lot easier and maybe typo less. I think so. Well, Kelly, we want to thank you so much for sharing your time with us today to get this information out there. For anybody on the podcast that has any questions about Summit and how we use AuditMiner, if I've already done. At least with one other CPA firm kind of shared our experiences, you can reach out to me directly. It's K Moore, it's the letter K and then MOORE at Summit CPA, that's SUMMIT CPA.net. So feel free to email me and I'd be happy to share our experiences with AuditMiner, or if you just have any questions about Summit CPA, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be happy to help. So thanks again, Kelly and Karen, and we'll await your great progress coming forward. We're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Enjoy this podcast? Visit our website at summitcpa.net to get more tips and strategies for achieving 401k audit success. We're here to be a resource with ever-changing rules and regulations.